What if I told you that finally getting exactly what you spent the last 10 years working for,
Right.
like the massive promotion or the thriving business or even that deep, secure relationship you've always visualized?
Yeah.
What if I told you that getting that is biologically indistinguishable from a catastrophic threat to your survival?
It's honestly the ultimate paradox of human growth. I mean, we spend our entire lives striving for this expansion, right?
Total.
Begging the universe for a bigger stage. And the second we actually get it, our own nervous system just pulls the fire alarm.
That's wild. Hello, Alicia, and hello, everyone listening. Welcome back to Vibrations and Manifestations.
Hi, Jared. It's great to be here.
We are so glad you're here. Today, we are wading into some incredibly murky, unpredictable waters in this workshop.
We really are.
We're exploring a phenomenon we call the Great Amplification. Basically, it's about what happens when your life finally starts matching your highest vibrations and your brain inexplicably just goes into a state of total panic.
Because it does. It happens to, gosh, almost everyone who engages in deep self-development.
Yeah, you do the inner work, you clear the blocks, the outer movement begins.
And suddenly you feel more out of control than ever before.
Exactly. And our entire mission for this deep dive, this workshop today, is to help you understand how to be seen, how to grow, how to hold greater power or visibility without losing your mind.
Or losing yourself.
Right, in the process.
Yeah.
So we're going to explore why unfamiliarity triggers our defenses. And we're going to break down the three massive distortions that happen when our inner work creates outer momentum.
Which are so common. We'll look at how visibility mutates into performance, how opportunity masquerades as urgency, and how power degrades into control.
And most importantly, we're going to give you...
Yeah, this is basically the ultimate test of that practice.
It really is. So to set the stage for you, I want to share something that happened to me a few years ago, because I think it perfectly illustrates this.
Oh, I know this story. It's a good one.
It's embarrassing but true. So I had been visualizing and working toward this massive sponsorship deal for our platform. I'm talking about a life-changing level of funding.
The kind that changes the whole game.
Exactly. The kind that would allow us to hire a real team and reach millions of people. And I worked on this pitch for months. I visualized the handshake. I did the meditations, all of it.
You did the work.
I did the work.
Yeah.
And then one rainy Tuesday afternoon, I was sitting in my car in my driveway, and the email came through. It just said, "We're in. Contracts attached."
The dream realized.
The dream realized.
Okay.
And I want you, listening right now, to imagine what you think I felt in that moment. You'd think joy.
Or relief. Celebration.
Exactly. But instead, I just stared at my phone, and it felt like someone had injected ice water straight into my veins. My chest got incredibly tight, and I don't mean that expansive, fluttery feeling of excitement. It was a suffocating tightness, like I was trying to breathe through a cocktail straw.
Oh, I hate that feeling.
It was awful. My mind instantly raced to, like, they're going to realize I'm a fraud. I don't know how to manage this money. What if the platform crashes?
I need to rewrite the entire back-end code right now.
Yes, literally that. I sat in my driveway, completely paralyzed, basically holding a baseball bat to the door of my own success.
And that physical reaction, the shallow breathing, the catastrophic thinking, the complete inability to feel joy in the face of a massive victory, it is so incredibly common.
It is, but why? Why do we do that?
Well, it happens because we deeply misunderstand how our own internal wiring operates. I mean, we tend to think of the nervous system as this highly intelligent threat detection machine that, only reacts to actual tangible danger.
Right, the classic, the overused being chased by a bear in the woods analogy.
Exactly, which frankly is a bit insulting to our intelligence at this point in our evolutionary journey. Right.
A much better way to understand your nervous system is to think of it like an overzealous, totally outdated IT spam filter.
Oh, I love this.
Like one that was installed in your brain in, 1999.
Oh, man. Tell me more about this spam filter. How does it work?
Well, think about how a basic spam filter works, right? It doesn't actually know how to read the contents of an email to determine its true value. It just looks for patterns.
Okay, yeah.
So if it sees an email address it doesn't recognize or a file size that deviates from the norm, it automatically quarantines it. It flags it as a virus.
Right, just because it's different.
Exactly. And your nervous system operates on that exact same pattern matching protocol. It does not evaluate situations based on good or bad. It evaluates them entirely based on familiar versus unfamiliar.
So Because my nervous system didn't have a pre-existing folder labeled massive financial success and visibility,
Yeah.
it just saw this huge unknown file attached to my life and threw it straight into the spam folder, just blaring the alarms. And the profound tragedy of this, honestly, is that we have a tremendous amount of practice surviving disappointment, right? And struggle and rejection.
Oh, totally. We are experts at that.
We know the layout of that territory. If you get an email saying, "We passed on your pitch," your nervous system goes, "Ah, yes, the rejection folder."
I know exactly where this goes.
Right. We know how to process this. We will feel sad for 3 days, eat some ice cream, and try again. It's familiar. It is mapped out.
We have mapped the struggle perfectly. It's almost cozy in a twisted way, isn't it?
It really is. But we have virtually no practice surviving massive, sudden expansion.
Right.
We don't have a map for what it feels like to have an abundance of resources.
Right.
Or for hundreds of people to suddenly be validating our creative work.
Mhm.
Or to have a partner who is genuinely emotionally available and not making us chase them for affection.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a huge one.
Right. When you encounter that, the IT department in your brain panics. It interprets the positive, expansive event simply as unfamiliar, and it literally equates unfamiliar with unsafe.
Unfamiliar equals unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a critical reframe. If you are listening to this right now, I really want you to let this sink in. I'll speak directly to you for a second.
Yeah, take this in.
If you have ever sabotaged a good thing because it just felt off, or if you've ever gotten exactly what you manifested and instantly felt terrified, it was not because you were broken.
Absolutely not.
You were not ungrateful. You were not failing at manifestation. Your biological spam filter was just trying to protect you from a $1 million contract because it didn't recognize the sender's address.
That is exactly it. And that realization is the first step toward what is known as psychological flexibility.
Okay, unpack that for us.
So this is a core concept from acceptance and commitment therapy, and it fundamentally redefines what confidence actually is, because we usually think of confidence as the total absence of fear, right?
Yeah, we say things like, once I finally stop being afraid, then I'll launch the business.
Right. Once I feel totally secure and doubt-free, I'll fully commit to this relationship.
Which is, I mean, that's a complete trap.
It's a huge trap. Because the fear, that biological alarm of unfamiliarity, it is never going to go away as long as you are growing.
Never.
Psychological flexibility is the ability to stay in contact with the present moment and take action that serves your core values, even while the fear, the doubt, and the uncertainty are fully present.
Even while they are screaming in your body.
Exactly.
So it's not about aggressively meditating the fear away.
No.
Or repeating affirmations until the tightness in your chest magically disappears. It's about looking at the fear and saying, I see you. You can ride in the passenger seat. You can even play with the radio. But I am driving the car.
Precisely. It's the capacity to hold the biological activation, the racing heart, the sweaty palms, the intrusive thoughts, without letting it dictate your behavior. You separate your identity from your biological response.
Like, let's make this tangible and interactive for you listening right now, because this is a workshop. I want you to take a deep breath with us.
Yes. Just inhale.
And exhale.
Now, I want you to reflect on your current reality. Where in your life has your external reality moved into a beautiful, expansive new room, but your internal nervous system hasn't learned to inhabit it yet?
Right. Maybe your small business just doubled its revenue this quarter, which is exactly what you wanted, but you are still obsessively checking your bank account every morning at 4 a.m. as if you're completely broke.
Or maybe you finally got promoted to the leadership role you fought so hard for, but you're still working 80 hours a week doing the entry-level tasks.
Because you're deeply terrified of delegating and being seen as someone with authority.
Exactly. Just notice that gap between your outer reality and your inner state. Take a moment.
Let's just hold space for a few seconds so you can really feel that.
Yeah.
When we lack that psychological flexibility, when we cannot tolerate the discomfort of that new, expansive room, that biological activation starts to warp our behavior.
It really does.
It doesn't just make us feel bad inside. It changes how we interact with the world. Think of it like plugging an electric guitar into a really powerful amplifier.
Okay, I like this.
The amp doesn't decide what music you play, right? It doesn't magically turn a terrible, out-of-tune chord progression into a masterpiece. All it does is take the existing signal and make it much, much louder.
Oh, that is the perfect metaphor for what we call the Great Amplification. Life works in the exact same way.
It really does.
Expansion, more money, greater responsibility, a larger audience. It does not magically create new, healthier behavioral patterns out of thin air. It just magnifies the ones that are already there.
Right.
If you are operating from a grounded, regulated place, expansion acts as a multiplier for your creativity, your connection, and your authentic leadership.
There's always a but.
If you are operating from a place of unhealed fear and you suddenly get amplified, it amplifies your urgency. It amplifies your perfectionism and your desperate need for control.
Which brings us to the core of our workshop today. When the signal gets amplified and we aren't grounded, our behavior warps into 3 distinct distortions. Let's look at the first one.
Okay, let's do it.
When your inner work creates outer momentum, you inevitably become more visible, right? You just do. But if your nervous system is panicking, visibility mutates into an exhausting, high-stakes performance.
Distortion number 1. And the core underlying fear driving this first distortion is a deeply held, usually totally subconscious belief. If I am seen, I have to get it right.
Yeah.
If I am visible, I am vulnerable to criticism, and therefore I must be flawless to justify taking up this space.
I know this distortion intimately, so intimately. A few years back, I was invited to speak on a massive stage. It was an audience of about 5,000 people.
That is a lot of people.
It was huge. And it was a topic I knew inside and out, something I had talked about organically on this very show dozens of times. But because the scale was so much bigger, because the amplification was so loud, my spam filter just went berserk.
What did that actually look like for you in practice?
Oh, man. Instead of trusting my natural voice, I turned the opportunity into this rigid theatrical performance. It looked like 4D chess with human interaction.
Oh, no.
I spent 3 weeks scripting every single word, down to the pauses for supposed spontaneous laughter.
The fake laughs.
Yes. I excessively rehearsed casual conversations I planned to have at the networking events, like alone in my room. I literally found myself in front of the mirror, changing the pitch of my voice, trying to sound more, authoritative.
Wow.
I was trying to anticipate and neutralize every single piece of criticism before anyone in that auditorium had even opened their mouth.
That is the chameleon effect right there. You are abandoning your authentic self to construct an impenetrable armor of perfectionism.
Exactly. I took this amazing opportunity to just exist, share my ideas, and connect with people, and I turned it into a desperate audition for permission to belong.
That's heartbreaking, honestly.
It was. And the craziest part, when I actually delivered the speech, it felt dead. It was technically flawless, but there was no soul in it. People applauded, sure, but no one connected with me afterward because I wasn't actually up there. A heavily armored avatar of me was up there.
That phrase you just used, an audition for permission to belong, is incredibly precise.
Yep.
When we slip into this distortion, we are fundamentally misunderstanding what our presence is actually for.
Yeah, we totally lose the plot.
I was rereading Rick Rubin's brilliant book recently. While he writes mostly about music and art, his philosophy applies to literally any human endeavor where you are putting yourself out there.
Whether that's speaking on a stage, pitching a startup, or even just sharing your authentic perspective in a Tuesday morning staff meeting.
Exactly. He draws a very sharp distinction between authentic expression and performing for approval, right? He argues that true creative work, true expression is something we participate in.
We participate in it. I love that.
It's a transmission of something true from within you. It is an offering. It is absolutely not something whose intrinsic value is solely determined by how an audience reacts to it.
Right.
But when we slip into the performance distortion, we completely flip that dynamic. We make the audience the ultimate judge, jury, and executioner of our worth.
But I want to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
Because I think a lot of people listening are probably thinking what I'm thinking. Let's be real. In the actual world, especially in a corporate environment or a highly competitive market, performance is literally the job.
I hear you.
If I am a mid-level manager trying to secure a promotion, I kind of have to curate my work, don't I?
Yeah,
I have to read the room.
Yeah.
I have to perform the role of a leader to get the title. How is it practical to just say, oh, I'm just participating in my truth, when there are real financial and social optics at play?
That is a highly valid pushback, and it really gets to the nuance of what we mean by performance. Because there is a massive difference between performing an action and performing an identity.
Okay, break that down for me. What's the difference?
Yeah. Performing an action is situational awareness. It's dressing appropriately for a boardroom, Organizing your slides clearly and, speaking articulately, that is simply respecting the medium of communication.
Okay, that makes sense.
But performing an identity is what you did on that stage. It's altering the fundamental truth of who you are, changing your voice, suppressing your actual opinions, and trying to manipulate the audience's perception of your worth.
Sure.
When you perform an identity, you make yourself the object of constant evaluation. You step outside of yourself and view yourself entirely through the imagined, hypercritical eyes of the audience.
You stop asking, what is true to me? What is my expertise? And you start asking, what will they applaud? What will make them think I'm smart?
Exactly. And the profound irony, the real tragedy of this distortion, is that it completely severs your connection to the very authenticity that earned you the visibility in the first place.
Well,
Think about it. They invited you to speak because they liked your natural, unscripted insights on the podcast. When you showed up as a rehearsed robot, you deprived them of the very thing they wanted.
it's so exhausting. You're trying to hit a moving target while wearing a blindfold, basically. Just constantly adjusting your personality to fit a room that is always changing.
Exactly.
So how do we break out of this? How do we stop performing an identity and get back to grounded visibility?
It requires a deliberate, conscious shift in our psychological posture, and I want to offer a micro practice for you listening.
Grab your notebooks, guys.
Yes, this is a very specific tool you can use literally today. Before you post something on social media, before you speak up in a meeting, before you walk into a networking event, or before you send that pitch email, I want you to catch yourself in the moment.
Notice if your body feels tight.
Yes, notice the body and stop asking the subconscious question, do I look impressive right now?
Do I look impressive? That question is the root of so much misery, honestly.
It really is. Instead, I want you to take a breath, ground your feet on the floor, and swap it for a different question. What am I here to give? What is useful here?
What am I here to give? That feels, it feels completely different in the body. It shifts the energy instantly.
And there is a profound biological reason for that shift. Think about the mechanisms of the nervous system we discussed earlier. When you ask, do I look impressive? You are placing yourself under a massive threat.
Because you're waiting to be judged.
Right. You are essentially asking, am I about to be rejected by the tribe? Am I going to be cast out? That thought instantly spikes your cortisol. It triggers the hypervigilance, the shallow breathing, the racing heart.
Because evolutionary biology says that if the tribe rejects you, you starve in the wilderness.
Exactly. But when you ask, what am I here to give? You completely change your role in the dynamic. You move from being a supplicant, begging for approval, to being a grounded contributor offering a resource.
And biologically speaking, a contributor is inherently safer than a performer. Because giving is an empowering, self-directed act. I control the giving. I cannot control how they receive it, but I have total sovereignty over the offering itself.
You've got it. This shift inherently lowers the nervous system's threat level because it removes the ambiguity. You aren't waiting for them to tell you if you are worthy. You are simply placing your gift on the table. Contribution over performance. That is how you survive visibility.
Contribution over performance. I want you listening to just sit with that for a moment.
Yeah, let that land. Pause.
Okay, so if we manage to stop performing and we actually start showing up authentically, something else is going to happen. Our inner work is going to start manifesting real, tangible opportunities.
The fun part.
The emails are going to start coming in. The doors are going to fly open. But if our nervous system is still dysregulated by this expansion, we hit the second massive distortion. Distortion number 2. Opportunity becomes urgency.
Oof. This one. This is perhaps the most insidious distortion of all, precisely because it is so highly rewarded and praised in our modern hustle culture.
It really is.
The second distortion is treating every single good thing, every new open door, every collaboration request, like a 5-alarm emergency.
The underlying fear here is pure scarcity, isn't it? It's like, this may be my only chance. The train is leaving the station, and if I don't jump on it right this second, I'm going to be left behind forever, and all of this will disappear.
Yes. And I want to explain exactly how that fear dramatically alters how your brain functions. Because it is crucial to understand that this isn't just a mindset issue, it's a biological hijacking.
Okay, tell us about the hijacking.
When we experience that scarcity panic, we enter a high arousal state, flooded with adrenaline and cortisol. And the behavioral science on decision-making under stress is crystal clear on this. High arousal states significantly impair our prefrontal cortex.
And that's the part of the brain responsible for logical reasoning, right?
Exactly. Logical reasoning and weighing long-term consequences. So it literally narrows our focus.
It creates extreme tunnel vision.
It does. The nervous system biases us toward immediate action, any action, simply to relieve the unbearable internal tension of uncertainty.
I can give you a painfully personal example of this too.
Oh, please do.
When this platform first started gaining real traction, my inbox suddenly exploded. Suddenly, there were requests for joint ventures, book collaborations, speaking tours, consulting gigs.
All the things you asked for.
All the things. And because my spam filter was flashing red, because it was all so unfamiliar, my brain treated every single email like a fire alarm.
Yep.
The adrenaline would spike, the rational part of my brain would go offline, and I would just smash the yes button.
Yeah.
Yes, I can fly to Chicago on a Tuesday. Yes, I can co-author that project. Yes, I can take on 3 more clients.
And let me ask you, why were you saying yes? Was it because every single one of those opportunities perfectly aligned with your deep, soulful vision for your life?
Absolutely not. Half of them were completely off-brand or terribly paid. I was saying yes immediately, just to make the anxiety of uncertainty go away.
Yeah.
I confused the adrenaline rush of a new email with the intuition of true alignment.
We do that so often.
It felt like I was being ambitious and driven, but looking back, it was pure scarcity disguised as ambition. I was reacting out of a deep-seated terror that if I said no, the universe would decide I was ungrateful and turn the faucet off forever.
Which is a complete distortion of how manifestation and expansion actually work.
Completely.
The way I visualize this distortion is to think of it like treating every opportunity like it's the last helicopter leaving a deserted island.
Oh, wow.
Right. When that chopper lands, you don't ask where it's going. You don't ask if the pilot has a license. You don't ask if there's enough fuel. You just scramble aboard, shoving people out of the way because you are convinced it is your only way off the beach.
Yes. But the reality is, you aren't on a deserted island. If you have done the inner work, if you are vibrating at a frequency that is attracting these opportunities, you live in a world filled with helicopters.
They're landing all the time. That analogy aligns perfectly with the insights of Oliver Burkeman in his incredible book. He writes beautifully about finitude, the undeniable, uncomfortable fact that our time, our energy, and our capacity are deeply limited.
Finitude. It's a tough pill to swallow.
It is. He points out a painful truth that the hustle culture desperately tries to ignore. Choosing one path inherently mathematically means not choosing another.
Right.
When you impulsively jump on that random helicopter just because it landed in front of you, you are simultaneously saying no to a dozen other, potentially much better futures that you actually wanted.
It's the ultimate opportunity cost. By saying yes to the frantic urgency, you are saying no to your true path.
Exactly. And Greg McKeown builds on this in his work on essentialism. He argues that just because a door opens does not mean you are obligated to walk through it.
Let's say that again.
Yeah.
Just because a door opens does not mean you are obligated to walk through it.
Yes. We have to shift from a paradigm of how can I do it all to what is the right thing to do. When opportunity becomes urgency, we completely lose our capacity for discernment.
We become indiscriminate consumers of opportunity.
Which ironically dilutes our impact, waters down our magic, and destroys our health.
Let's talk about the health aspect for a second, because that is where the bill comes due.
Oh, it always does.
When I said yes to all those things, I ended up so burnt out that I couldn't record a deep dive for 2 months. My body physically shut down. I couldn't get out of bed.
And that perfectly illustrates the true nature of burnout, because we often think burnout is just working too many hours.
Right. Just needed a vacation.
But the research, particularly the pioneering work of Christina Maslach, shows us that burnout is much deeper than that. It is a fundamental, soul-crushing mismatch between the demands placed on a person and their actual lived capacity to meet them.
A mismatch between demands and capacity.
Exactly. Sustainable momentum requires a match between opportunity and capacity, not just opportunity and desire.
That is huge. Let me repeat that for everyone taking notes. Sustainable momentum requires a match between opportunity and capacity, not just opportunity and desire.
Yes.
You might desperately desire to take on that massive new client, but if you lack the operational capacity to serve them without working every weekend for 6 months and ignoring your family, saying yes is a path straight to burnout.
It's a guarantee. But knowing this logically isn't enough, right?
No.
Because in the moment, the adrenaline takes over. So how do we stop the adrenaline from making the choice for us?
Right. When that email comes in and my heart starts pounding, how do I stop myself from scrambling onto the helicopter? Because if I pause, my brain screams, they're going to give the opportunity to someone else.
We have to introduce a mechanical circuit breaker between the stimulus and your response.
The circuit breaker. I like that.
And I want to offer a very specific practical grounding phrase for you, the listener, to memorize and use this week.
Write this down, folks.
I don't care if it's an invitation to speak at a conference, a request to join a board, or even just a friend asking you to help them move furniture on a Saturday. Whenever a new opportunity presents itself, you do not answer immediately.
Ever.
Never. You use this exact phrase. Thank you so much for thinking of me. Let me check my capacity and get back to you.
Thank you. Let me check my capacity and get back to you.
It sounds so simple, but to someone operating in urgency, saying that feels terrifying.
It feels terrifying because it requires you to stand in your own power. But it is incredibly liberating because what you are doing is actively reclaiming your agency from your dysregulated nervous system.
Yeah.
A pause is not a rejection. It is simply a mechanism that buys you time. It allows the cortisol and adrenaline to literally metabolize and clear out of your bloodstream. It buys you the 24 hours you need for your prefrontal cortex, the logical, visionary part of your brain, to come back online.
It allows your present-day, grounded, spiritual self to make the decision, rather than letting an old, panicked, scarcity-driven pattern make the choice for you.
I want to challenge this, though.
Okay, what's the challenge?
What if you say, let me check my capacity, and the person responds, well, I need to know right now, or the offer's off the table. Because that happens. People use false urgency all the time.
It does happen. And if someone says that to you, it is the greatest gift they could possibly give you.
Really? How so?
Because they have just revealed the energetic nature of the opportunity. If an opportunity cannot survive a 24-hour pause for a capacity check, it is not an opportunity rooted in respect or abundance.
Oh, wow.
It is an offer built on scarcity and extraction, and it will almost certainly lead to exploitation. You let that helicopter leave without you.
Wow. If it can't survive a pause, it's not for you. I want everyone listening to take a deep breath on that one.
Let it sink in.
Okay, so we've navigated visibility by shifting to contribution. We've navigated opportunity by introducing a pause and checking our capacity. But let's say you do all of that successfully.
You're doing great.
You navigate the expansion. You take the right opportunities. You grow. And as a natural result of that growth, you gain power.
Yes, you do.
You get the team. You get the budget. You get the influence. You get the large following.
Yeah.
As you transition into this phase of massive manifestation, there is a third, incredibly dangerous distortion waiting for us.
Yes, there is.
Distortion number 3. Power becomes control.
And this is where the consequences of our dysregulation stop just hurting us internally and start actively harming the people around us.
Yeah, this is where the collateral damage happens.
Exactly. This is where we inflict our unhealed panic on our communities, our families, and our teams. The third distortion is the tragic conflation of true leadership with intense, suffocating micromanagement.
The core fear here is, if I do not manage everything, if my hands aren't forcefully gripping every single lever of this operation, something will go catastrophically wrong and I will lose everything I've built.
I think we have all worked for this person. Or if we're being painfully, brutally honest in this workshop, many of us have been this person.
I have absolutely been this person, no question. A few years into running my first major business venture, the stakes got higher. The revenue was real, the payroll was large, and suddenly my expansive vision shrank into deep paranoia.
What did that look like?
I stopped trusting my team. I found myself reading every single email my marketing director wrote before it went out to clients.
Oh, wow.
I was dictating not just what needed to be done, but exactly how every person should do it, down to the font choices on internal memos.
The font choices.
Yes, I was suffocating the life out of my own creation.
And why were you doing it? Let's look at the organizational psychology behind this behavior. Harvard Business Review has published some fascinating deep dives into what they call the anxious micromanager.
The anxious micromanager. That was me.
What the research clearly shows is that micromanagement is almost never about the actual competence of the team. It is almost entirely about the internal, dysregulated state of the leader.
So I wasn't micromanaging because my team was bad. I was micromanaging because I felt out of control inside.
Exactly. When leaders feel the immense pressure and uncertainty of their expanded role, they experience deep internal discomfort. And because they lack psychological flexibility, they don't know how to sit with that discomfort.
Right.
So how do they try to make their internal anxiety disappear? By radically increasing their external control over everyone else. They squeeze their team to relieve their own anxiety.
Oh my God, I was literally using my highly talented staff as a human stress ball.
That is a brutally honest and completely accurate metaphor. They demand constant updates, they require unnecessary approvals, and they bottleneck the entire workflow.
Yep, that was me.
And in doing so, they destroy what Amy Edmondson in her seminal work calls psychological safety.
Explain psychological safety for those who might not be familiar with the term, because it's so important.
Absolutely. Psychological safety is the shared belief within a team or a relationship, really, that you will not be punished, humiliated, or fired for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes.
It's the freedom to be human?
Yes, it is the bedrock of all innovation and deep connection. But when a leader operates from fear-based control, when they grip the reins tighter and tighter, they completely annihilate psychological safety.
Because there's no room for anyone else.
Exactly. If the leader is dictating every single move, there is no room for anyone else to have an idea. There is no room for the collective genius to emerge. You reduce talented, creative adults to mere order takers.
It makes me think of driving a car. Like, imagine you are driving on the highway, it starts raining heavily, and you start feeling nervous. What is the instinctual physical reaction?
You tense up.
Right. You grip the steering wheel harder, you lock your elbows. But gripping the steering wheel so hard that your knuckles turn white doesn't actually make you a better driver.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't make the car any safer. All it does is exhaust your muscles, reduce your reaction time, and make you completely unable to fluidly navigate the bumps in the road. You are putting all of your life force energy into rigidity instead of navigation.
That is a beautiful illustration, and it raises a deeply confronting question for anyone listening right now who holds any kind of power, influence, or leadership role.
Whether you are a CEO, a parent, a community organizer, or a senior creative.
Yes, I want you to ask yourself, where are you gripping the wheel right now? Are you providing structure because it is genuinely useful to the growth of your team? Or are you imposing rigid control to try and make your own internal anxiety disappear?
That is a gut punch.
Yeah.
Are you providing structure, or are you self-soothing with spreadsheets?
Yes, because we have to redefine what power actually is.
Yeah.
True power, healthy, grounded, spiritually aligned power is the capacity to act in a way that enlarges agency for everyone around you.
Enlarges agency.
A truly powerful leader creates a spacious environment where others can step up, make decisions, take risks, and even make mistakes safely. True power expands the room.
And fear-based control does the exact opposite.
Fear-based control is simply a desperate attempt to remove all uncertainty from the environment, which inherently shrinks the room. It crushes creativity. It kills the vibration of the space.
I want everyone listening to take another breath here.
Yeah, that's a lot to process.
We have covered a lot of heavy territory today. We've looked at how life turning up the volume tricks us into turning visibility into a performance, opportunity into an urgent emergency, and power into anxious, white-knuckled control.
It can sound a bit daunting when you lay out all the ways our biology tries to trip us up.
It really can. But the beautiful part of this workshop is that you are not at the mercy of these distortions. The universe provides the expansion, but you have the power to create the container.
Exactly.
So let's transition into the final, most crucial part of our time today. Let's dive into the toolkit for grounded expansion.
This is where we synthesize all these insights into practical daily frameworks. These are the tools you can start using today to maintain your groundedness, clear your signal, and hold your expansion without abandoning yourself.
Let's start with tool 1, the amplification check. How does this work? I imagine it's something we deploy right in the heat of the moment when we feel that spam filter alarm going off.
Exactly. It's a series of 3 diagnostic questions you ask yourself the moment you notice that familiar tightening in your chest, or when you find yourself rushing to send an email at 11 p.m. The first question is simply, what is getting louder right now?
You mean naming the specific trigger of the expansion?
Yes. Name it to tame it. Bring it out of the subconscious and into the light. Is it that you have more financial risk on the table? Is it that a new relationship is reaching a level of intimacy you've never experienced?
Or is it that a post went viral and suddenly thousands of strangers are perceiving you?
Exactly. Just plainly state the fact. The volume of my visibility is getting louder.
Okay, I recognize the trigger. What's the next question in the check?
Then you ask the most confrontational question. Am I about to move from a place of clarity or a place of adrenaline?
Ooh, that requires profound self-honesty.
It really does. Which ties right back to our July series on responding from the present. Are you about to send that Slack message to your team because it's a clear, strategic, necessary move? Or are you sending it because your adrenaline is demanding that you do something, control something, fix something right now to relieve your anxiety?
That distinction is everything. Clarity feels grounded, steady, and inevitable. Adrenaline feels frantic, tight, and urgent. If it feels frantic, you step back.
Exactly. And the final piece of the amplification check is asking, what boundary would help me hold this expansion well?
Give me an example of that.
If your business is growing rapidly and it feels chaotic, maybe the boundary isn't working harder. Maybe the boundary is finally hiring an assistant, or committing to not checking email after 6 p.m., or simply giving yourself permission to say no to all projects under a certain budget.
I love the reframe on boundaries. Boundaries aren't rigid walls you build to keep people out. They are the supportive container that actually allows your growth to happen without spilling over into total chaos.
Beautifully said. Which leads us perfectly into tool number 2. This is a framework I use constantly with my clients, and it's a bit more symbolic, but incredibly effective. It's the framework of fire and air.
I love this one. For those listening, we're drawing on elements of astrology and archetypal psychology here, but we are treating astrology as symbolic weather, not literal prediction.
Right. It's a language for understanding different types of energy that we all possess and must balance.
Okay, so break down fire and air for us.
When we are expanding, we are managing massive amounts of energy. Think of fire as your desire, your courage, your passion, and your movement. It's the engine of manifestation.
It's the raw, crackling energy that says, I want to build this incredible program,
Yeah.
or I want to boldly speak my truth on this podcast.
It's the spark of life. But fire alone, unchecked, is incredibly dangerous.
It is. Too much fire without any containment leads directly to impulsivity, destruction, and burnout. You act without thinking, you burn through your financial and emotional resources in a week, you alienate your team with your intensity.
And you leave a trail of half-finished projects in your wake.
Exactly. That is where air comes in.
Yes. Air represents communication, perspective, structure, and strategy.
Air is the container and the direction for the flame. It provides the oxygen, but also the boundaries.
But just like fire, too much air has its own dark side.
Tell us about that.
Too much air leads to endless planning without ever taking a single step of action. You analyze everything to death. You create 50 different spreadsheets. You have 100 strategy meetings, but you never actually launch the product.
You talk about writing a book for 5 years, you outline it 12 times, but you never sit down and write a single chapter.
Exactly. So the mastery of expansion is in the balance between the two. And we actually have an interactive exercise for you listening to try right now.
Yes, play along with us.
Think about the specific thing you are trying to expand in your life right now. The project, the relationship, the career move. I want you to mentally complete this sentence. My fire wants to, and then immediately complete the second half. But my air helps me.
For example, you might say, my fire wants to launch this new website tomorrow, tell the whole world about it, and stay up for 48 hours straight coding it. That's the passion. Honor that.
But then you integrate the air. But my air helps me realize I need to choose the right marketing channel, test the links first, and structure a rollout plan over 2 weeks so I don't overwhelm myself and crash.
Or in a relationship context, my fire wants to confront my partner right this second because I'm triggered and I want to yell. And my air helps me take a walk around the block, process my actual feelings, and plan a calm, structured conversation for tomorrow morning.
It's bringing the passion and the logic into partnership. It stops you from being either purely impulsive or chronically stuck.
It's a brilliant way to integrate both hemispheres of your brain during periods of high stakes and high stress.
It really is.
Moving on to tool 3, capacity before commitment. This ties directly back to our discussion on how opportunity becomes urgency. We have distilled the research on burnout and essentialism into 3 daily check-ins.
These are 3 non-negotiable habits you need to run through before you say yes to anything new.
Anything.
This is your ultimate defense against the scarcity-driven, adrenaline-fueled yes. Before you commit to a new project, a new client, or even a new social obligation on your calendar, you must ask these 3 questions in strict order.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, do I have the desire? Do you actually genuinely want to do this thing? Does it align with your values and your highest vibration? If the answer is no, stop there.
Do not pass go.
Right. Do not do it out of guilt. Do not do it out of FOMO. Just politely decline.
But let's say the answer is yes. It's an incredible opportunity, and my soul is screaming yes.
Then you must move to question 2. Do I have the capacity? As we discussed, desire is infinite, capacity is strictly finite. Do you actually have the hours in the day, the physical stamina, and the emotional bandwidth to execute this new commitment without sacrificing your health, your sleep, or your primary responsibilities?
This is the trap for so many ambitious people right here. My eyes are always bigger than my stomach, metaphorically speaking.
Oh, same.
I want to do it, my fire is blazing, so I logically convince myself I have the capacity, even when my calendar is full and I'm already exhausted.
Which brings us to the crucial saving grace of the third question. Do I have the support?
Support.
Yes. If you have the deep desire, but your personal capacity is stretched to the limit, you have to ask if there is support available. Can you delegate something else off your plate? Can you hire a freelancer to help? Can you negotiate with the person offering the opportunity to extend the timeline by a month?
What is so vital to note here, and this was a huge breakthrough for me personally, is that needing support does not mean the opportunity is wrong for you.
Absolutely not.
It doesn't mean you are failing or that you aren't ready. It just means the opportunity is so big that it requires a bigger structure before you can safely say yes.
That is a profoundly liberating reframe. Asking for help isn't weakness. It is the architectural requirement of expansion.
Okay, the final tool in our kit, tool 4, is all about getting out of our heads and actually moving energy. We call it taking the one brave, grounded action.
To really understand this, we have to recognize that confidence is not a mystical feeling that floats down from the sky and blesses you before you take action.
Nope, that is a lie sold to keep you stagnant.
The truth, backed up by both spiritual law and behavioral science, is that confidence is the result of taking visible, concrete action. You do not think your way into confidence, you act your way into it.
So when life gets loud and scary, and your nervous system is completely freaking out about your new level of success, the mandate is not to lock yourself in a room, read 20 more self-help books, and reinvent your entire life.
It's not to build a frantic, color-coded, 10-step master plan to guarantee you never make a mistake.
No, that is just more air without fire. That is hiding. The mandate is simply to take one step, just one brave, grounded action.
Send the one email. Publish the one post you've been agonizing over. Make the one phone call. Have the one difficult conversation.
Bold action does not have to mean dysregulated, chaotic action.
But here's the critical part and where people stumble. What happens after you take that one step?
Well, usually I take the step, and then I sit there frantically refreshing my inbox, waiting for the universe to immediately applaud and give me a result.
Exactly, and that is what we must resist. You take the one brave action to build sustainable momentum. When you are terrified of expansion, your nervous system is wildly predicting catastrophe. It says, if you hit publish on that authentic post, everyone will hate you and you will die.
Right.
By taking one small grounded step, you force your nervous system to experience a new conflicting reality. You take the step, the world doesn't end, you didn't die, and your brain recalibrates. It says, oh, okay, we survived that. The spam filter was wrong.
You literally prove to your own biology that you are safe in this new room. And then once the nervous system settles, you can take the next step from a place of earned clarity and quiet confidence rather than frantic panic.
Yes, you let yourself exist in the expanded space before demanding more.
This has been such a massive, transformative workshop today. As we start to pull all these threads together, I want to briefly recap the journey we've been on.
It's been quite a journey.
We started by validating the paradox, that your nervous system treats success and expansion like a threat, simply because it's unfamiliar. It's just a spam filter doing its job.
We unpacked the 3 distortions. How visibility tricks us into performing for approval instead of participating in our truth. How opportunity triggers a scarcity mindset that rushes us into urgent, burnout-inducing commitments.
And how gaining power often devolves into anxious, white-knuckled micromanagement that suffocates our teams.
And then we built the container. We learned to shift from asking, do I look impressive, to what am I here to give?
We learned to introduce a 24-hour pause and check our capacity rather than operating on pure adrenaline. We learned to balance our passionate fire with our structuring air.
And we learned to provide supportive structure rather than suffocating control.
The ultimate synthesis of everything we do here is this. When life gets louder, when the amplifier is turned up, and your manifestations finally arrive in the physical realm, you do not have to shrink to feel safe.
You don't have to unconsciously sabotage the good things.
You can simply recognize with a tremendous amount of self-compassion, that your biology is just adjusting to a beautiful, unfamiliar new room.
You are capable of holding so much more light, so much more joy, and so much more success than you think, provided you don't abandon yourself in the process of acquiring it.
So here is your direct call to action for this week. I challenge you to take that tool 4. Take the one brave, grounded action.
What is the one thing you've been overthinking? You know exactly what it is. The thought just popped into your head.
Send the pitch. Share the creative work. Set the boundary you've been avoiding. Take this step. And once you do it, resist the urge to manipulate the outcome. Just let yourself exist in that newly expanded space. Let yourself breathe the air in the new room.
If I could leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about your week, it would be this.
Leave us with it.
If your nervous system is treating your current success, your growth, and your beautiful expansion like a terrible threat, what would happen if you simply thanked it for its concern, but gently told it that you finally belong here?
What a profound place to end. You belong here. Your light does not have to perform to be powerful. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive today. We'll see you next week.